H.C. Verma ji, sir, already joined in our webinar.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sir, hearty welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, till now we have completed 2 sessions. One is Dr. Sanyas Raj Garu have completed a good talk on photoelectric effect, and the applications of photoelectric effect was given by our Sahai Bhaskaran sir. He is from Andhra Law College. And now our session is from you, sir. Really, we are feel very well. We are very happy to see you with us.
I'm also very happy.
Till now, our AP teachers are waiting. Totally 396 teachers are registered, but now it is nearly 300 teachers are now in our webinar, sir. Now I am handed over to Mr. Srinivas Rao Garu. Please introduce our H.C. Verma ji, sir, and by his addressing, after his addressing, then we will go with the interaction. Thank you.
Verma ji, pranam. Respected, respected and revered Professor Verma sir, and my fellow teachers of physics. I deem it as my privilege and a great and rare honor to introduce Professor Verma ji. The name of Padma Shri Professor H.C. Verma instantly reminds his physics textbooks that has inspired millions of students and teachers to reorient themselves in a right understanding of physics. All those appearing for physics-based competitive exams usually treasure his books. His style of explaining the concepts and the facts with illustrations, examples helped many to excel in life. Verma ji achieved all his passion for teaching physics and down-to-earth explanations and motivation. He is a role model and inspiration for all of us. It is really my honor to present his brief profile. Professor Verma has been awarded with Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Shiksha Puraskar by the Government of Bihar in 2017. In 2020, the Government of India awarded him the Padma Shri, India's 4th highest civilian award. Professor Harishchandra Verma served the Department of Physics, IIT Kanpur, as the professor since 2017. Prior to the joining IIT Kanpur in 1994, he served in Science College, Patna University as a lecturer and reader. He has successfully guided 11 PhD scholars and has published 139 research papers in reputed journals. He has also written several books in physics at school and college levels. And we all know that 2 volumes of Concepts of Physics is the scripture for many physics enthusiasts. He has developed more than 600 physics experiments, which can be used by teachers as demos in their classrooms. He has also produced a number of video lectures and online courses for the benefit of the students and continuous learners. And Verma ji is also associated with social causes from childhood. He has been instrumental in making a group of faculty members and the students of IIT Kanpur together with local youths to run an NGO called Shiksha Sopan. Shiksha Sopan is indirect contact with 250 families through various centers in villages around IIT Kanpur. Under the leadership of Professor Verma, Indian values and cultures are taught in addition to the educational assistance to the benefit of poorest of the poor at these centers. And of course, I had a chance to witness all those things also. What are the things that are going on Shiksha Sopan? And through Pratibha Poshan Yojana, he has reached out thousands of children at remote villages and identify the hidden best talent and give them the residential summer camps at IIT Kanpur. So now I request Verma sir to interact with our teachers. Verma ji.
Thank you, Srinivasa Rao. I'm happy to recollect all those moments that you told about in association with yourself at Kanpur and other places. And such a long description was not needed about the so-called achievements. These are not achievements as such. I'm just doing my duty of a teacher, and that is all.
So many teachers will be inspired, sir. That's what. Yeah, that's what. I am also one among them.
Okay.
That's what.
So thank you very much. Thank you for calling me in this particular meeting. And I did listen some of the applications towards the fag end of this talk, especially CCD camera and those things. I was there. So it gave me instant inspiration that I will, after the session, I will go to internet and learn more about this working of CCD camera and how the charges are coupled and all those things. So this is my personal benefit from this session. Whenever there is something which is new and which I am only qualitatively aware of, and if someone excites me about that, then I go deeper into that, and that enhances my knowledge. So thank you very much for calling me. And this interaction session is on. Your teachers can tell me what they want to hear from me. Any questions or anything else about whatever topic they want to interact with me. I am fine. From my side, there's nothing to tell about. All these some 300 teachers who are there, they are doing their duty very nicely. The very fact that you have all come here and since last 2 hours or so, you are here listening to all these things and trying to absorb that. That shows that yes, you are prepared to take up new things, prepared to take up new challenges, and to learn new things. So that is the spirit that has to be maintained all the time, since we are teachers at a particular school, a particular college. So we have some kind of a syllabus, some kind of a board, and that is repeated years after years after years after years. So our own thinking cells, our own learning cells, they can be activated only, or they can remain active only when we go beyond the syllabus and try to learn new things wherever the opportunity is there. And I'm very happy that all the people in large number who are present here are taking it on. So the stage is yours. You tell me what you want to listen from me. I'll respond.
Thank you, sir. Lakshman, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please.
So, namaste, sir. Some of the teachers ready to interact with you, sir.
Sure.
Ram Mohan Rao from Wisdom District. Please interact with Varmaji, sir. Ram Mohan Rao. Please ask your question.
Ram Mohan.
Ram Mohan, sir. JPHS VM Peta. Sir, please unmute.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Ram Mohan, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sir, I will ask one question, sir.
Yeah.
The light rays are reflected through metal, but it is passing through a lens. Why, sir? Both are solids. Why is the difference?
The first thing is that metal is a conductor.
Yes.
Okay, and the glass is not a conductor. Now, since this light has electric field and magnetic field, and in conductors you have free electrons. So if you apply electric field and you have free electrons, there will be current. Okay, so any metal, when you expose it to light, there will be some local current. Of course, you do not light a bulb out of that current, because it is very local. It's very local, and changing 10 to the power 15 times per second or so. But nevertheless, it consumes energy, and the light cannot propagate into. If it tries to go into the metal, then its energy is lost tremendously in setting up these currents of free electrons. So that is why all metals are opaque to light, and they only reflect or to some extent absorb. It doesn't penetrate. The penetration depth is hardly maybe in nanometers or so. Right. However, if it is glass, there's no such dissipation of energy takes place. And glass also, not all non-conducting things are transparent. That is also true, right?
Okay, sir.
All conducting things are opaque. That's perfect. All
Yes.
conducting things are opaque, but all non-conducting or bad conductors are not transparent. So there comes the what kind of inner molecular frequencies are involved.
Then
If
what
the-
about water, sir? Water is also a conductor.
Water is not a conductor as such.
Not a,
Conductivity is very low. Conductivity is very low as compared to.
it is not a pure water, but water. We can see through the water.
That's right. That's right. So that's right. So water absorbs, of course. The intensity of light on this side and that side are different. Right?
Yes, yes.
One does absorb. So it depends how many free electrons are there. If
Yes,
they are more in number, then more absorption will be there and the propagation will be there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much,
Sir.
sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Ram Mohan.
Now,
Thank you.
R. Ravi Kumar, ZPHS Rajapuram from Kavati Mandal, Srikakulam district. R. Ravi Kumar. R. Ravi Kumar, ZPHS Rajapuram from Kavati Mandal.
Yes, sir. He is unmuted.
R. Ravi
Unmute అయ్యారు
Kumar,
మీరు. Yes, sir, sir.
ask your question, sir.
Sir, good evening.
Sir,
Good evening.
మాట్లాడండి సార్, క్వశ్చన్ అడగండి.
Sir, Vermaji, good evening. We can see only one proton, one electron interaction in the case of photoelectric effect.
Yeah, one photon gives you
We can
photoelectric.
see
One photon.
one photon, one electron interaction in photoelectric
Correct.
effect.
Correct.
Why can two or more photons not add up to make sufficient energy to cause emission of more electrons from a metal?
Okay, in principle that is allowed. It's not that it cannot happen. In principle it is allowed, but then the probabilities are very, very small because it is almost instantaneous. A photon interacting with electron and transferring its energy and disappearing, and this electron then immediately gains the energy and moves from there and then starts sharing the energy with the fellow electrons and the lattice. Is so quick, it's so instantaneous that the chance that in that short period another photon will also add its energy to it and so that is very, very small. That's very, very small, negligible. And therefore one photon giving its more than one photons giving energy to the same electron at the same instant is difficult. Although this electron can spend some time in the lattice when it is dissipating, and after some time when it thermalizes and sufficient time means it's still in nanoseconds or picoseconds, that is sufficient, then it can absorb the photon once again. But by that time the effect of the first photon is all gone. But in principle, it is not forbidden.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, MP Naidu from ZPHS Moida, Vijayanagar district. MP Naidu, ZPHS Moida from Vijayanagar district.
Which metal has the highest photoelectric effect and why?
This is the question asked by the MP Naidu.
Which metal has highest photoelectric effect and why?
I do not know what you mean by highest photoelectric effect. If you think, I don't know what you have in mind. Higher photoelectric effect and lower photoelectric effect. The ease at which the electrons can be ejected, that varies, and that is denoted by the work function. Okay, so you can look at the table that you will have tables of work functions for different materials, and you can compare where the work function is more, it will take harder to take out the electron, and all you need is a still lower wavelength of light. That's all. if you have that ultraviolet of much lower, sufficiently lower this wavelength, so that photon energy is high enough, then doesn't matter. Even if the work function is large, it will come out. So if that is what is in your mind, then you can just look at the tables. Our common metals like copper, aluminium, zinc, these things have work function around 4 electron volts. Around. Sodium, this Millicon, who has done the most extensive experiment in 1916 to check all those predictions of Einstein's theory, he had used sodium and lithium, alkali metals. So they have a work function somewhere around 2.3, 2.4 electron volts, like that. Cesium has a work function much lower, and you can use the visible light also for photoelectric, right? But unfortunately, cesium is liquid at the room temperature, right? So difficult to use as an emitter in a photo cell unless you cool everything and keep it solid. So these are the things. So if that is in your mind, then it's just the work function with which you can compare which metal will be suited for a particular wavelength.
Thank you, sir. Now, K. Pravinalata Jatpik Sankli from Srikakulam district. K. Pravinalata.
Yeah, I am unmuting you, madam. Please unmute yourself.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good
Sir,
evening.
good evening, sir. Can I ask you a question?
Sure. No, please go ahead. If I know, I will answer. If I don't know, I will say I don't know.
Opportunity, sir. My question is, how much time will taken between incidence of radiation and emission of photoelectrons, sir? Is there any lag? Can we calculate the time?
Yes, it should be calculatable, but I do not know. But it certainly is much smaller than nowadays. Technology has advanced, and we can measure femtoseconds and picoseconds. But it will be in that region only. Definitely much smaller than nanosecond. Definitely. Okay. But how to calculate and how to do that, perhaps people, the theoreticians who work in optics, that may perhaps help. But I know that for most of the purposes, the kind of instrument that we have in our laboratories, right, unless it is a very advanced research laboratory, for us it is instantaneous. For us, the time is so short that we are not able to measure it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, T. Nageshwar Rao, Jatpech's Gajulureka from Vijayanagar district. T. Kumaraswamy, Jatpech School, Shiburpalli.
Kumaraswamy.
T. Kumaraswamy.
Padala Kumaraswamy. So please unmute, sir. I am giving you.
T. Kumaraswamy garu.
Yeah, he is there.
Please ask your questions.
Good evening, sir. My name is Kumaraswamy.
Yeah. Good evening.
Sir, my question is, why the night vision images are in green color?
Night vision images are green color. Are you talking of Uri film and things like that? I don't think it is. I do not actually know it. So my answer may not be authentic. But I believe that it's not green color as such. There you have voltages generated. You have photons, and from those photons, very small number of photons, because it is night vision, and then it does some photoelectric effect on some photosensitive surface, and electrons are multiplied in the tube. Some photo multiplier tube. So a lot of electrons are generated from there, and these electrons give you current pulses, and these current pulses are processed electronically to finally present an image to you. Okay, so what you see in very dark, if you try to see from your eyes, you only see some hazy thing, something. But if you have that night vision instrument on your eyes, then you will see clearly the features.
Okay, sir.
It's not green, I believe. My answer may not be authentic, but what I know is that it's
are in
the
green,
process.
sir.
Huh?
Most of the pictures are in green, sir. Why it is in green?
I don't know. Night vision cameras, night vision instruments, they are based on the electronics only. The color has no significance there. Because if it is dark, there are no colors as such. Okay, there are no color. Even colorful things are black and white. Not white, they are all black. The different shades of black only. So very few photons are emitted from the things. And all these night vision instruments, they use these kind of photomultipliers and so on to create voltage signals, and then they recreate the image for you, so that you can see it. That's my understanding, but maybe I'll search.
Thank you, sir. Another question is this. Sir, why is diamond transparent, but graphite in black?
No, see, white things are transparent. White things are transparent and white things are opaque. Okay, anything. It's not the atomic number which is at work. Because with the same atomic number, if your crystal structure is different, your vibration frequencies are different. Okay, the vibration frequencies are different, and the frequency of the light, if it matches with the frequency of the vibrations of the molecules in that crystal, right? Then you have a different kind of things. You have normally you get opaque things, and if the frequencies, the resonance frequencies of the latter, and that depends on how the bonding is there, right? The frequency of molecular vibrations will depend on how the bonding between the atoms are there, and the bonding will depend what is the crystal structure. The graphite crystal structure and the diamond crystal structure are very different. The carbon atoms are bonded in very different manners. So they will have different kinds of vibration resonance frequencies. And therefore, for a visible region, it's perfectly okay that one crystal structure is absorbing the things and other is making it go.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Naram Naidu Patta from Srikakulam district. Naram Naidu. P. Naram Naidu.
Please unmute, sir.
Naram Naidu, ask your question.
Yes.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Past 3 years, sir. In magnetism. Sir, I have a doubt in magnetism, sir. Magnetism.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir?
Naram Naidu, ask your question now. No problem.
We take magnetic lines from North Pole to South Pole.
Yeah, outside the magnet.
Magnetic lines outside the magnet, North Pole to South Pole.
Yes. Okay, let me first tell what I could hear from him. One is that the magnetic field lines go from north to south outside the magnet, and then I see something about compass and arrow which is marked on the compass, and why the arrow is marked towards north only. Is that the question?
Sir?
Yes, sir. That is his question.
That is the question. Okay.
Repeat, sir. Repeat, sir. 1 second, sir. One second, sir.
In fact, I'm not able to connect the two parts. First part is that in a magnet, if you place a magnet somewhere and draw field lines, magnetic field lines, these lines come out of the North Pole and then travel in the empty area outside this magnet and then enter into the South Pole. Okay. So that shows the direction of the magnetic field at the various points. As the line is turning, actually the magnetic field direction is turning. Okay, so that is one part. Then you said that in a compass, why the arrow points towards north? So is it also related to that lines that we were talking, or is it a separate question? I do not understand well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Now move to the next question.
No, I didn't get the question very well. See, arrows are marked, compass is used to locate which direction is north. And that time, no magnet should be around. Okay, so the first part where he's talking of lines, magnetic field lines around a magnet, and then he's talking of compass. So if compass is used for this, okay, okay. Okay, so what perhaps he's telling is that if I draw magnetic field lines using a compass, okay, if I draw magnetic field lines of a magnet using a compass and put compass at different places, and then the arrow, in the direction of arrow, we are making the points, and then we are putting the arrow on the line. I do not know. I'm not understanding the question.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Sai Srinivas Sharma from Srikakulam. Sai Srinivas Sharma from Srikakulam.
Sai Srinivas, please unmute. I have given that.
Sai Srinivas.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Verma, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Very happy to see you.
Oh, thank you.
It's my pleasure and a very great opportunity to interact with you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
My question is it possible to fabricate a photovoltaic cell in a smaller package, but produce more power than the existing ones right now?
So these are the research problems, and scientists are must be working on that. I can connect you to people who are working in this area.
If so, what kind of materials we can use, sir?
No, what I will do is you write a mail to me.
Okay,
you write a mail to me. I will connect to the people who are working on this kind of research problems. Okay. And then you can get your answers.
It's a very essential thing nowadays, produce more energy with less effort.
So, correct. Yes. I'm very sure that large number of these experimentalists, material scientists and physicists, chemists, they are all working on this particular area because it's a very hot area. Okay. Yes, so how much they are successful at laboratory scale, and how much which can go to public consumptions, all those things are very much there. But people are working on these areas for years and improving and improving. So if you are interested, I can connect you to some of the researchers.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.